Hello Namibia and welcome to your daily lunchtime show where we get to catch up on current events and headlines that are in the news. I am your host Priska Anyolo and you are watching NMH at 1. In today's interview, we will zoom in on the reasons why certain local stock on the Namibia Stock Exchange lost a substantial percentage of its value yesterday. When the chief of Namibia's police force, Lieutenant General Sebastian de Tunga, yesterday spoke at the induction of new reserves into the force, he gave orders that the suspects who murdered a man at the Windhoek's Avis Dam on Tuesday afternoon must be hunted down as a matter of urgency to restore the trust of the community. Republican journalist Christine Kruger attended the event.
The criminals are hiding in our villages and town. Criminals. They are hiding in our towns because they are our brothers and countrymen. But we are failing to flush them out. Why? White collar crime or white collar criminals? They are dealing with diamonds, in drugs. But we are failing to flush them out. We should recruit informers. Yourselves, you should have informers. You can't win the war against crime if you don't have informers. The police, the reservists, the women and men network, the neighborhood watch, we have to coordinate. Coordination is very important. Otherwise, we are in asylum and we don't communicate. And as I'm standing here, I'm giving everybody a task to make sure that we arrest those criminals that they have murdered someone at Avis Dam. I will give a task to each and everyone. This week, all of us, let's go out there and identify them so that we create confidence and trust among the members of the public. This is gruesome murder of an innocent person. I'm mentioning that one, but there are many murders that have been committed. All those criminals, they should be identified and they should be brought to book. And the task is given to all of us. All of us here.
Health authorities have traced more than 2,300 contacts of persons who tested positive for COVID-19 since the first cases in Namibia was reported on the 14th of March. Today's monitor shows how many contacts were traced in each regard on Monday. This data has not been updated since then. In the Irongo region, 1,500 contacts were traced, followed by 423 individuals in the Commerce region, 125 in Hardap, and 72, that is, in Ohangwena. The Namibia Press Agency reports that Karasburg East Councillor Dennis Kutsia pleaded for calm in the southern town after a teacher and a worker at a quarantine facility tested positive for the virus this week.
It is alleged that the members of parliament that are in parliament today are not the members of parliament who were part of the PDM's initial list, and the PDM has changed that. It is not factually correct. Now, of course, we are very much alive, and I speak, specifically speaking, is very much alive to the fact that the global mode and political mood is that anyone status quo who appears to be challenging the establishment in any form or way happens to easily get the attention, one, and two, and not necessarily the scrutiny that befits any such challenge. And I want to urge Namibians and our members that PDM members and sympathizers, we have gone a long distance. We will be attacked, but we will be resilient. By attack, I'm not talking about our members. I'm talking about attacks from other political establishments, specifically the ruling party, with all the machinery that it has. It shall come and heavily attack us. And clearly it's a play. Now, talking about the list, the PDM did not change any list. Its initial list, as it's being alleged. The PDM did not take members, the 6 members of parliament who are contested and challenged to be removed from parliament, are not individuals who are coming out of nowhere and through no processes. That is not the case. An internal process has occurred of choosing our potential members of parliament, i.e. an elective Congress or process. A process subsequently and constitutionally ratified, I'm talking about PDM constitutionally ratified by our Central Committee as it should after vetting these individuals.
The Popular Democratic Movement, Namibia's official opposition, yesterday again defended changes to their list of candidates for the National Assembly in spite of the High Court's ruling that these amendments are invalid. Jemima Bierkus of the Namibian Sun attended.
We are also looking at the Nelson Mandela rules that we have in the corrections, which gives the right to every offender who is illiterate to be educated. And we
Education is an important part of the rehabilitation of convicted prisoners. Yesterday, the Elizabeth Nepembe Correctional Facility in Rundu congratulated top performers in last year's exams. Kenya Kambowe spoke to the prison's head of education, Sam Laboni, who completed his grade 10 certificate and scored 3 A symbols and 2 C symbols with NAMCOL. Laboni is serving a 12-year sentence.
Which talks about education. We are also looking at the Nelson Mandela rules that we have in the corrections, which gives the right to every offender who is illiterate to be educated. And we also have the Education Act from the Ministry of Education, of course, which is also validating the fact that education is important for everyone, regardless of where you are, whether you are incarcerated or whether you are outside, you are able to receive education.
So, you see, in here it's tough. Like when it comes to education, you have to, if you are not pushing, and if you are not maybe going to the next party to just give you 2 or 3 words to say, no, my brother, just do it, you will leave. I remember even mathematics when I registered it. I registered it when I was at Ichikongo. And the same person that told me that no, register for math, I will help you. Later on when I came to him with my assignment, he was like, no, we will not just be assisting you. Those things you must do them on your own. So from him, that time I even decided, okay, fine, I will not read math. It was the subject that I last studied. Even if I got it a C, it was something that I was not even having courage on doing it even. I just focused on another subject, but I even later on found an inmate, a friend of mine, who told me that, no man, you can do math, man, you are good in math, because we used to practice with him. So I kept on practicing with him, and when it came to the exam, at least I got a better symbol on him. But there are chances that comes when you want just to give up. You sometimes maybe think of the sentence here, you are stressed, or those things, they really used to trouble us.
I do apologize for the previous mispronunciation. It is actually the Elizabeth Nepembe Correctional Facility in Rundu. But moving on to our news pages in the daily newspapers today. President Hage Geingob yesterday lashed out at SWAPO MPs, the Namibian Sun reports. According to the president, the ruling party should not allow small opposition parties to steal the thunder in the National Assembly. Republican reports on 4 civil claims instituted by liquidators of the former SME Bank against various individuals to recover millions of dollars lost in this scandal. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports on the alleged bribery surrounding City of Windhoek's plans to roll out 5G internet services. While today's issue of the Namibian takes a critical look at new rules for party funding announced last Sunday by SWAPO. New Era shares the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture's advice to teachers on how to make sure learners are successfully completing their grades during a harshly disrupted school year. From the inside pages of the country's newspapers, today's Market Watch, the business and finance section of NMH Dailies, leads with the Bank of Namibia Governor Johannes Gawagab's setting of the central bank's future agenda on the 30th anniversary of the bank. The tourism industry, reports the Namibian Sun, fears a complete collapse of business due to the government's continued silence on when borders will be opened again for visitors from abroad. And the Namibian reports on the double life sentence handed out to convicted murderer Lucas Kashonga. Kashonga was employed as a farm worker when he murdered 2 people within a day in the Rehoboth district. According to New Era, emergency vehicles at the Oshakati State Hospital are not safe to drive. The licenses of these vehicles have not been renewed since 2016. The Minister of Health reports that Allgemeine Zeitung faces continued criticism from the Irongo region for the way he is managing the COVID-19 pandemic. And the Republican shares a lovely human story about the life of Opa Thomas Mutota. This 108-year-old Karakul farmer from Gibeon still actively farms and shares his amazing life story with Tanya Bowser. The local index of Namibia Stock Exchange dropped with almost 20% yesterday on what can be called a Black Thursday in the small. Yaku Squambi of Cirrus Securities explains why.
Today we're talking stocks in NMH at 1, and with me is Yaku Squambi. Yaku is with Cirrus Securities. Welcome, Yaku.
Thanks, Donnie. Nice to be here.
Now, some people have called it a small little Black Thursday on the local stock exchange here in Namibia yesterday. So, Yaku, a significant drop in the local index, a total of 19.9%. That's almost 20%. And then 3 stocks especially that were struck hard. That's Namibia with 24.9%, first at Namibia 35%, and the Capricorn Group with 24.9%. What caused this?
So, Donnie, I think this was caused by foreigners selling out of Namibia. They needed to liquidate some of their holdings, and they went to the market and they offered especially with the Namibia and FNB, they offered them at a relative discount to what the current price in the market was, and that was attractive to some of the big fund managers that also play in this market. So the FNB and Namibia Breweries one was actually done with significant volume, whereby the Capricorn Group, although they also traded down 25%, and that also had an impact on the total index, the volume there was not as significant as with Namibia and FNB. But yeah, it's just foreigners needing the cash and selling out of Namibia, maybe selling out of emerging markets, and that has an impact on Namibia as well.
Is that a global trend that foreign countries are withdrawing capital from emerging markets?
I would say some markets are more impacted than others. Certainly these 2 stocks that was with Namibia Breweries and FNB, they are what you would say more liquid in this market, and that is why they was more sold off more heavily. But that is definitely a trend. There is a if there's a risk of trade going on in the world, then the emerging markets will struggle.
Yaku, tell me, because I'm not an expert, Namibia's recent downgradings by Fitch and Moody's,
yes.
Does that play any role in decisions like these or not really?
I think the reasons for the downgrades in the last couple of years will play a reason. The unfriendly investor environment in Namibia, the high debt to GDP ratios, those types of things will play a reason for the selling, or for selling maybe going out of emerging markets, maybe going out of Namibia. But the specific downgrading, I wouldn't say there's a direct link between that, because that's more to do with the government debt side of things, but that's also a reflection of the economy. So there is a link, but it's definitely not a direct link, I would say.
At Cirrus, what are your guys' predictions in terms of recovery? Can it happen quite soon, or will it take some time for these prices to reach the levels at which they were?
I would say I would be surprised if it recovers quickly, if there's the so-called V-shaped recovery in the share prices. I think there's definite uncertainty regarding Namibia's future, economically wise, politically wise, and that has an impact on investor sentiment. So yeah, it's a difficult thing to just say we expect the share prices to rebound. So no, I'm not going to make a call on the share price in a week or a month or a year's time. Although we do valuations on these companies, but I'm not going to make a call on when they will recover, if they recover.
Jaco, for those people out there that have shares, let's say I have shares in one or more even of these companies,
Yes.
what would Cyrus's advice be to me?
So I would definitely say it's not the time to sell now. There's an old saying that says you don't want to buy high and sell low, rather buy low and sell high. So definitely don't sell now. Yeah, if there's a recovery, these shares should also recover quite nicely.
Now, Jaco, the NSX, we have quite not that big a local index, but over many years it's proven itself as being very stable and profitable as well.
Yes.
What happened yesterday? Do you think that will adversely affect this image of the NSX or not necessarily?
No, I don't think so. The NSX and the local index heavyweights like your Nambrus and the banks and so on, they were quite resilient even in the adverse economic times that Namibia went through and is going through. So I think there's definitely a shock now with this COVID pandemic that's in the globally affecting a lot of markets and livelihoods. But I don't think this one trade or one-off event that happened yesterday would affect the index image. But there's definitely there will be impacts due to the share prices trading down that will create some opportunities for some investors, and yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Jaco, thank you very much for sharing your insights with NMH at 1. And remember, next week, Wednesday, is the next issue of Business 7, and Jo Marie Duddy will definitely be delving further into what happened yesterday on the NSX.
Thank you so much for watching. I, Priska Onyoro, have been your host here at NMH at 1, and we wish you a pleasant and restful weekend ahead. Join us again on Monday at 1.